There we go. Now we'll share the screen again. Terrific. Can everybody see that? I guess not much way to know. Please put it in the chat if there's any issues. Okay. So welcome. Today we'll just get started. I have some slides to step through and then I'll ask, bring folks back on for questions. This is not letting me admit people for some reason. Hang on. It's not letting me admit people if I do the share. So let me admit a couple and we'll go back and start again. Okay, here we go. So welcome. My name is Sheila Gallant-Halloran. Welcome to today's presentation, Travel Solo, Not Alone. I am a Virtuoso travel advisor. I own and operate Lush Life Travel as an independent affiliate of Vision Travel, and we're part of the Virtuoso network. I have done Travel Tuesdays for well over a year now. Last week we did a beginner's guide to river cruising. In the recent month or so, we've had Visit Finland. We've had Big Five tours come on and talk about Morocco. Next week, we have Abercrombie and Kent, and we're going to talk about Southeast Asia. So whatever your interest, if it hasn't been something I've done the past couple of weeks, I'm sure I have a recording over the past year. We've done everything from Australia, New Zealand, to cruising with Oceania, Silver Sea, doing expedition cruising. So there's a lot of different presentations I can share with you. I am independent. I run my own business as Lush Life Travel, but I'm affiliated with Vision Travel, Canada's largest travel agency. And we are part of the Virtuoso network, which is over $15 billion a year in travel before COVID. We'll get back to that again very quickly and surpass that, I'm sure. Vision, as I mentioned, is Canada's largest travel agency, independently owned since 1953, one of the top 10 in the world with Virtuoso, and we just recently merged with Direct Travel in the United States, which gives me access to even more product and exclusive offers for my clients. And we're part of the Virtuoso network, which is a worldwide network, the best of the best cruise lines, tour operators, hotels, and it's by invitation only. We get special perks for folks booking through a Virtuoso travel advisor. So I'd just like to mention that if you're not aware, just to give you some background. And if you have any questions about Virtuoso and Vision and Lush Life, I can answer later. And just a very quick slide, but the reasons to work with a travel advisor, especially in times of COVID. There's never been a more positive time with COVID. Okay, I got just a comment there that everything looks good. That's terrific. Okay, you can buy happiness. Can't buy happiness, but you can buy a plane ticket. Kind of the same thing. At least COVID has taught us that. You know, travel is the only thing you can buy that makes you richer. So today we're talking about solo travel, where you travel solo, but not alone. So I have a lot of clients who are either recent widows, have gone through a divorce or marriage breakdown, or they don't have a travel partner. Maybe they've had a friend they used to travel with them before, but circumstances change, might not have the same money, interests, health. And so people find themselves not being able to travel with company. And if there's one thing COVID has taught us, we don't want to stay put anymore. We want to be able to explore. And hopefully we should be able to do that relatively quickly now that things are looking up. Solo travel. So I just kind of broke it down. You can share a room. You can have your own room. You don't have to be lonely, and there are organized opportunities to help you travel the world. Now, I'm just going to stop the share for a second and make sure I don't have others in the waiting room. Everybody good? Any questions so far? We're not getting the full screen of your slide. Okay. Let me see if I can. Is that better? Okay. But it stopped sharing. Let me try this again. Is that better? Yes? Okay, good. Thank you. So why do people travel on their own? There was a study by the AARP, the American Association of Retired People, and the numbers are pretty reflective of Canadians as well. Obviously, take it as a given that everything I say is before COVID. I will give some very specific examples of how COVID has changed things, but these numbers would be reflective of that. So let me just, what's going on here with the screen? Okay. So the American Association of Retired People, the study found that 57% of solo travelers couldn't find anyone available to go on a trip they wanted to do, or 45% wanted to go somewhere that they wanted to go, and maybe their friends or their family weren't interested in the same locations. 35% sought a trip just for themselves. They perhaps reflection, 18% personal reflection, 17% went to pursue a hobby or interest, and 12% travel to learn something new. So people travel solo for a whole variety of reasons, and it doesn't really matter too much why, as long as you want to go. So I used to call this a solo travel club. I don't really call it a club anymore. It's really just bringing people together to look for opportunities. There's no formal meetings or anything, but I used to host these meetings about once a month to kind of introduce people to each other. This is a group of 4 ladies I brought together to do a scenic river cruise. They had not met each other before, and they traveled together and had a fantastic experience. So that's the kind of thing I like to do with a lot of my solo clients. And you can see here, excuse me, why did you come today? So you love to travel, you don't have a partner, you had a partner, but circumstances have changed. Maybe you're curious, maybe you're looking for info, looking for good company to travel, security, good value, other. Did I miss anything? Anybody? Any other reasons that I've not covered? Good. Okay, I'll go back. So that tends to, run the gamut of why people are traveling solo. Okay. In the past, most companies would charge 200% for a solo traveler, and that's called the solo supplement. Pardon me. It essentially means you're paying for 2 people to travel, and it's only one of you in a cabin or in a stateroom or a hotel room if you're doing a tour. Very few companies would half their revenue to attract solo travelers. The only opportunity then for solo travelers was if there was a glut, an excess supply, then companies would discount for solo travelers. You see that sometimes when, there was a terrorist event, or there was a flood in Europe, or, there was an ash cloud in Iceland. Iceland became very attractive to travel after that because the pricing went way down, and they were trying to appeal to people to get them to come. Same thing happened like when the US had an economic event in around 2008, 2009. It became companies like Disney were doing everything they could to attract people, and they were trying to bring everybody in, solo families, couples, whatever. when there was flooding in Paris, or there was a terrorist attack, same thing. Then, there was opportunities to travel together that didn't have the same pricing. They made it more attractive for solo passengers. But now, before COVID, we're seeing more and more men and women wanting to travel solo. We're still seeing some cruise companies and tour companies that have huge supplements. So the 200%, where you're actually paying, if the price is $5,000 for per person based on double occupancy, some cruise lines are charging $10,000 for one person in the cabin. So that's the supplement, the solo supplement I'm talking about, if you're not aware already. But we're starting to see a conscious decision by companies to attract solo travelers. There's certainly a growing market of solo travelers, but COVID has certainly complicated travel. We're just starting to reopen and travel again. Most of my clients are booking 22, 23, but there are some still looking for 21. With all the new protocols, and of course, the travel industry has been devastated by COVID. But if you are open to travel in 21 and you're looking for something that's a little bit more of a deal, 21 is going to be the time to get it. Okay, traveling alone will be the scariest, most liberating, life-changing experience of your life. Try it at least once. So different people have different reactions, but it's the kind of thing I try to encourage people to do. It's just you're not on anybody else's time frame. And this is kind of what we talked about before. Why would you travel solo? Well, some people want to do their own thing. Rest, relaxation, reflection. It's a form of therapy. I have a client who is just going through a marriage breakdown. She needs the time away to kind of regroup and figure out the priorities for her family going forward. There's nothing better than travel to do that. I've had other clients who've lost a parent recently, and that, losing that touchstone has really kind of thrown them off, and they just want to get back in touch with who they are. Other people may have lost a job. Sometimes it's these major life events that really make you want to reevaluate, and travel is a terrific way to do that because it takes you out of your routine and gets you thinking about the choices you're making and how you want to go forward. Some other people prefer their own company, always do, would rather make their own schedule, make their own choices, and not have to be bothered with, trying to accommodate the wishes of 5 or 6 people. Others have a partner. They might want to take a break. Maybe they have other interests. I have husbands and wives that sometimes take separate vacations and come back together after. Whether it's a golf holiday for the wife or the husband, or maybe a knitting holiday for the wife or the husband, you can go and explore your own interests and not worry about putting the other person in a situation that they don't have an interest in. So it does kind of give you that ability to travel, explore your own interests, and come back if you do have a partner. And another thing that's really taken off is mom vacations. Where a young mom raising young kids is sometimes completely overwhelmed, and getting away from the responsibilities can sometimes be a much needed break. Same thing with those of us in the sandwich generation, where we're maybe looking after kids or teenagers and elderly parents as well. That can be exhausting. Sometimes traveling and getting away from it just gives you that break. Pico Iyer is a fantastic travel writer. I'm not sure if you folks have heard of him, but he has written a book called The Art of Stillness, and he calls it disconnecting from the weapons of mass distraction. So it kind of play on words there, but it is true. There are people who are looking to travel and be away from their cell phones, be away from their computers, and travel You can choose travel that takes you away from things. You can choose travel, in the Amazon or different parts of Africa where there is no cell service. There are no newspapers. The TV is not going to be a constant distraction for you. So you can disconnect and reconnect with yourself. And again, some people don't have a travel partner. They might have a partner who doesn't want to travel, or some don't have a partner. They still want to travel regardless. Lots of different reasons. So a couple of funnies in here. If there's one thing COVID has taught us, I got that, that was a meme that was circulating among travel agents and advisors the first part of March 2020. Yeah, we good. The Leonardo da Vinci painting there, but it's been a difficult year for those of us in the travel industry for sure. But that planning your next wine tour made easy. One thing that COVID has taught us is not to take travel for granted. And we all know what the wine tours we took in 2020 and 2021 were like, from the living room to the bedroom to the patio. So maybe you're looking to do something a little bit more adventurous going forward. Okay. The year 2020 brought to you by the letters WTF, Sesame Street, and coronavirus has taught us to take the big bucket list trip first. And just another funny here, but I can't wait to walk down the aisle someday and hear those magical words. This is your pilot speaking. Different kind of aisle. Certainly take the big bucket list trip first. And this is Matthew Upchurch, the CEO of Virtuoso, my luxury consortium. With a US passport, travel, money returns, time does not. So, and this is me as I got my second vaccine, vax to the max. And there's a new word that Merriam-Webster now has in its online dictionary. Anyway, I don't know if paper dictionaries still exist, but called a vaxication. So a combination of the word vacation and vaccine or vaccinate, a vaxication. So that's something, a trend we're seeing in travel, that people, especially Canadians, once they get their second dose, are really have more optimism and they want to explore the world. And, I'm part of this Vision Direct Travel I mentioned, and my American colleagues were booking their clients. Even January, February, they were really taking off. Canadians, not so much. We were kind of staying put. Of course, we had the 14-day quarantine that was in effect. That just disappeared on July 5th. But we're also, I saw numbers this morning. We are now like over 80% or just at 80% for the first dose, and just over 50% for the second dose for people above 12. So that's incredible progress when you consider March, April, we were so low, but we've really come on strong. So that optimism and especially the elimination of the 14-day quarantine has really made a difference to the optimism we're all feeling and the sense of taking. Whoops, sorry, Siri's trying to talk to me. Let me turn that off. So why I promote solo travel, I've been a professional travel advisor, well, more than 10 years now. But 10,000 hours of Malcolm Gladwell for mastery. I was an actuary before, I did return on investment. So I kind of use the return on life as what I do now. But more and more as I've been booking travel for clients, I'm seeing women and men who did travel with partners before and now don't have the partners, or they just want to travel, their partners hate to travel. And I have a number of clients where they've been encouraging a partner, come on, let's go, let's go. And they either the partner just refuses, or they actually succeed in convincing the partner to go, but then they both grow miserable on the trip. Or, we're just seeing different interests, yoga, golf. I mentioned knitting or golf before, skydive. But we're just generally seeing it take off more and more. It's totally up to you how you travel. There is no right or wrong answer, of course. Some people look to do solo travel where they're not alone because they're looking for a romantic partner, perhaps. That's totally up to you. That's not what I facilitate. It's not a dating combination of people, but of course, if you're open to that, you can explore that on your own. Other people are looking for a travel partner, not a romantic partner, but they want someone to share expenses, and I can help people do that too. Or you travel on your own all the time and you want to continue to do so, that's totally up to you as well. So there's many different reasons to travel solo. I like to bring people together to share info, encourage travel. I put together groups of solos, mostly ladies. There are some men, but mostly ladies, because I've found, and the statistics will bear me out, that women comprise the bigger percentage of adventure travel, which is really something that's taken off. And women do tend to travel solo more often than men might. That's not to say that I don't have gentlemen solo clients as well, but this is a picture of one group I sent to Morocco. You can see there is one gentleman, but the rest of the folks are ladies. And that tends to be reflective of the groups I've put together. I do some that are all ladies, just because some people are more comfortable with that. But if people are open to it and there's an interest, we can certainly bring different combinations of folks together. So I do groups, but I also do onesies and twosies. I have, or 4 or 5 people. It's really about knowing what you're looking for and how you're looking to travel and the opportunities you're looking for. And then I can bring people together or introduce them to people. Or maybe, you just have 4 people that are going from Ottawa on a trip and you don't really want to get to know each other that well. But, if you're all together, you might meet up on the cruise itself and have dinner together. So let me stop sharing for just a sec and come back here. And I will. So the question I had is, have you ever traveled solo? Do you like to travel on your own? Would you like to find someone to travel with? And what's on your bucket list? So does anyone feel comfortable in sharing a tip with us? You can turn your mics on and.
Hi, Sheila. I have traveled a lot alone, but most of my trip was with Intrepid. I did 8 trips with them, and they don't charge single supplement. And if they can find you somebody, then you just have your own room.
Terrific. Is that Shaw? I recognize the voice, but you have your camera off, right?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. And which company did you say you traveled with?
Intrepid.
Intrepid. Okay, yes, that's a company I work with a lot. G Adventures, Exodus, World Expeditions, On the Go, all kinds of small, moderate companies. And I'll be talking a little bit about that more in a minute. Does anyone else want to share a tip or of their solo travels?
Hello.
Hi.
I don't know if you can see me or not. It's Laura here.
I got 2 screens. Laura Denny?
Yes.
Okay, I see your screenshot, but that's fine.
The little red flash. Okay, I know why it's on backwards. Anyway, we'll leave it at like that.
Okay.
I just wanted to share that it was a long time ago now. It was 25 years ago when I lost my husband, and I went on a cruise all by myself. And I met other women in the airport even before we flew out. And it was a good thing because I was never alone.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Laura.
Okay.
Anyone else want to say anything before I flip back to the slides?
Sheila, I did Cunard cruise for all South America, and they provide you male dancers in the evening, which was great.
That's Cunard does that. Crystal as well. They call them ambassador hosts. So for solo ladies or solo gentlemen, they have, for the ladies, they have gentlemen dressed up in tuxedos. And for the gentlemen, they have a host dressed up in a ball gown. They do ballroom dancing. They have very strict rules about, they don't want any mixing other than on the dance floor between the hosts and the ladies. And they have very strict rules to ensure that everybody who wants someone to dance with gets the opportunity. But it's a great way for people who perhaps have lost a spouse and used to love to dance. This is a way that you can travel and have someone to dance with no strings attached. Karen, I think you wanted to say something. Go ahead. You're on mute. You're still on mute there. There you go.
Unmute. Okay. Yeah, more of my travel has been on my own with different companies. And the different husbands over a period of time, Australia and Ireland for a couple of places. But the ones I've done on my own are going to Peru and another one to Turkey. And then the last one, which was about 3 years ago, was to Mongolia, which was the tops ever. Nothing will ever come close to that. However, I am in, and with one of them, I think it was one that I took with Smart Tours to Peru. I was able to, another woman they found who had also signed up, who was looking to share accommodations. So that was done. So that was the only element that we did share, at just the rooms, and we reached on our own after that. So that worked out well. But I am thinking of, sort of sooner than later, because I've had some health problems the last year, serious ones. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is the time to really think about, what would I really love to go to? And like in that one session that you had on Africa. And so I'm concerned because the cost will be more than I would like it to be, but so I'm thinking, wonder if there would be any possibility of, sharing accommodation again. So yeah, so that's why I signed up for this particular session, to find out more about what's possible, or, how much
Awesome.
planning is involved.
Thank you for sharing. Let me just go back to the share, and we'll flip through the other slides, and then we'll bring people back to ask some questions later. Let me just make sure I got this shared properly again. Oh, it's doing that again. Hang on. There we go. Okay, so these are two ladies that, again, from that scenic cruise. They had not met before. They traveled together from Ottawa. They each had their own cabin, but they got together for dinner each night. So they got to go do their own thing during the day. And then they didn't have dinner together every night, but they chose to have dinner a few times just so they had company. They still mixed with other people. But it was a great way to feel that you had someone to talk about and share the experience after. I find a lot of my clients like to do that. And, that kind of gives you an opportunity. Cruising is certainly one option you have for traveling as a solo. I'll share some ideas about cruising and touring, but I also like to encourage people to think out of the box a little bit. Think different, in the words of Steve Jobs, right? Think big, think different. So, and travel different. There's a whole bunch of options out there. I have access to different partners and experiences that you wouldn't know about, because that's my world. That's what I do 7 days a week, 5 days a week if I'm if I'm being good. 7 days a week when it's really busy for sure. But it's my passion, and over the 13 years or so I've been doing this full time, I have built up relationships with partners around the world. So it's certainly my experiences and my relationships that you wouldn't have access to. But even more than that, it's knowing about companies that don't have huge advertising budgets. And I give the example of Viking River Cruise. Viking River Cruises, they're a great river cruise partner. For those of you who joined my beginner's guide to river cruising last week, you would have heard me mention this. They're great. They're great at what they do. They are not the only river cruise company out there. They do control 50% of the markets, and they do invest an awful lot of money in advertising. So if you ask people about river cruising, most times they'll say Viking. But that doesn't mean they're the only company just because they choose to spend their money on advertising. It's kind of the same with beaches and sandals. Everybody's heard of sandals because of their money they choose to invest in advertising, whereas some other companies either don't have the huge budget or they choose not to get their clients that way. So there's a whole host of other experiences you might not know about. And this is just an example, one of my favorite little Caribbean islands, Anguilla. Canadians certainly go to Cuba and Dominican. Well, poor Cuba is going through it right now. But Canadians have always been going to Cuba, Dominican, Mexico, Jamaica for years and years, all-inclusive products. But they're gems like Anguilla. It's a British overseas territory. It's only 3 by 14 miles big, only 14,000 people. That's some of the best beaches in the world. So then you could do a Caribbean cruise. Some of the examples, Royal Caribbean with 6,000 plus people on board. Or you could do something like Seabourn, where you have no more than 400 people. And in this example, you see the executive chef of Seabourn out in the water. He's got the crackers and the creme fraiche and the caviar and with the champagne. And if you want it, you have to come out in the water to get it. This is a big boat they've turned over in the water, and you can see the crew and everybody is walking around pouring champagne. It's just a very different experience and not something that you would experience on Royal Caribbean. And again, nothing wrong with Royal Caribbean if that's the stage of life or the product you like. It's just that these are different things that you might not think about. You can get away to New York City, or you can maybe go to Colombia. Colombia is a destination that has really taken off. I was here, this is a picture back from 2014 when I went with my daughter, but it has taken off even more in the last 7 years. And it's an example of a country that has really rebuilt its tourism with some terrible, terrible history. Of course, everybody knows Pablo Escobar, but there's not, that's not all there is to see and do in Colombia. And it's really a fantastic country to visit. You could visit Canada. You could go for a weekend in Toronto. You could go to Quebec City. Those are the kind of places that people in Ottawa go to. But again, just to push something a little bit different, you can also go to Fogo Island Inn, which has just reopened after COVID. Fantastic 5-star property, one of the 4 corners of the earth. They call it one of the flat edges of the earth, the 4 corners of the earth. And it's a great hotel in Newfoundland. And I'm a Newfoundlander, and so I'm very proud of that hotel. COVID has taught us every trip. Sorry? Oh, I thought someone said something. COVID has taught us that we have every trip should be special. You want to think about the experiences and make memories, you know, whether it's Disney, the Rocky Mountaineer, going to the Columbia ice fields, Pelican Hill in California, or the Galapagos. Okay, so let's talk about how you can travel and make it easier, at least on your pocketbook, and give you some company when you travel. And there are 4 main ways. The first is to manage the solo supplement cost. The second is to go with a small escorted group that's friendly to solo travelers. The third is to find a travel partner. And the fourth is that you actually help create a group and you become the Pied Piper. So I'll step through each of these four. No, it's not moving for me. Why is that? Well, every time I admit someone, there we go. Every time I admit someone, it seems to freeze. Don't know why it does that, but anyway. So manage the solo supplement cost. So we mentioned before that if you are a solo person, you often will have heard about the solo supplement if you're traveling by yourself. It can be up to 200%. So you're essentially paying for two people to be on your tour, in your cabin, or in your hotel room. I have some clients that will pay that. They will do so begrudgingly because nobody likes feeling that they're paying for something that they're not getting. But if you're stuck and you have a destination you really want to experience, and the choice is to go or not to go and pay it, or not to go and complain, or feel like you're being cheated, I have some that will choose to pay it. Most people, however, would rather not pay 200%. Most prefer a special, or even better, a waiving of the solo supplement. If we think in terms of the percentage, if you're going as a solo person, 200% is you paying for two people in the room. So a lot of companies will do 150 to 175%. I like to look for clients to see and track those companies that might reduce it to 110 to 125%, and even special circumstances where it's waived. So you're paying 100%, nothing extra for that supplement. Some cruise companies are solo friendly. You know, there are river cruises, ocean cruises, and expedition cruises. And there are escorted tour companies too. Of course, you can do it all on your own. I do have some clients that like to do self-guided tours where they are doing the driving, or they're moving around on their own, or even, you know, we organize something for them where the hotels are taken care of, their luggage or bags are moved from one hotel to the next, and they might join people for a shared tour. They go back to their hotel room by themselves and they meet up on the shared tour only. However, a lot of clients, while some prefer that, most of my clients like to have company. So it's that not alone feeling. And that's why I look at companies that will either waive the solo supplement or reduce it. Example of a river cruise, Tauk will waive the solo supplement on category 1, which is their leading category. Again, Tauk is a river cruise company a lot of people haven't heard of. They do the exact opposite of Viking. Viking spends a lot of money on advertising, Masterpiece Theater. You know, if you ever watched Downton Abbey, you would have seen Viking ads. Tauk doesn't spend money on advertising at all. Their choice is to get their existing guests as a repeat. So they invest on the experience with the clients that they get on board. Some river cruise companies have 1 or 2 cabins for solo guests, not a double cabin, but actually a solo cabin. Some ocean cruise companies have solo cabins, like Norwegian Epic has some solo cabins. Some river cruise companies have, like AMA, their French river cruises have 2 cabins on each. Some of their, like Scenic or Emerald, will have 1 or 2 cabins on each that are a solo cabin. Some expedition companies will waive the solo supplement. You'll get some companies like Lindblad or even Quark that will waive them on certain dates. And others will have specials. It might be a certain date, it might be a certain route that they will waive or reduce the solo supplement. So I track that. I have an awful lot of solo clients. So I track what they're looking for. If I know that a certain river cruise company has just created a solo supplement that's being waived or heavily reduced, and I know that Mary Jane is looking for a Danube river cruise, as soon as that offer comes out, and if I'm tracking it for her, I let her know. So it's a kind of thing, if you're looking for a specific itinerary, or you're looking for a tour or a certain destination, just let me know and I'll keep track of that for you and can try to put you together with someone else to help. So the first way, again, is to manage the solo supplement costs. So this is all about looking for reductions or waivers in the solo supplement. And I give the example of Scenic, the 4 ladies I showed you at the table. It was a once in a blue moon offer where Scenic actually was giving free air and waived the solo supplement at the same time and combined it. I have my list of ladies I went out to, and I booked the 4 of them overnight. And then I had 4 others by the next morning who wanted to do it. And Scenic went, oh, wait a second, Sheila's booking a lot of people. Pull the offer. And they pulled it. So something like that is very, very special, where it's air and solo supplement being waived, of course. But then, these offers tend to be capacity controlled. So as soon as they have reached their magic number, they pull the offer. So that's why if I have clients I know are looking for something in particular, I let them know as soon as I'm aware of it. Uniworld and Avalon have waived solos on solo supplements on some sailings. Some other companies waive or reduce the solo supplements too. So one good way to travel if you're a solo person, to make it easy on yourself, is to take a river cruise. Now, when we come back on the screen, I'll ask folks who've taken river cruises. I know several of my clients are on who have done many river cruises. River cruising is great for socializing for solo ladies in particular. The largest river cruise ship is 190 people. It's a more intimate way of traveling. There are not assigned tables like there are on ocean cruises. So you can sit with one person one night and another person the next night. Depending on the river cruise line, they are very friendly most of them are very friendly to solos, but some really make an effort to ensure that solos are mixing and meeting other people. And of course, it's a relaxed way to travel. You don't dine alone. Everything's included in a river cruise, so you don't have this sense that you have to worry about splitting a bill. You don't have any, shouting at the bar and ladies to feel uncomfortable with that. And it is very common that not either have no solo supplement or a low solo supplement. And again, I track that for clients who are looking to travel that way. And here's an example of a river cruise company. And remember, I mentioned if you can travel in 2021, if you're vaccinated, there are some good, very, very good offers right now. River cruising itself has taken off with COVID, even more popular after COVID than it was before. So if you think of 2020 at the beginning was selling very, very well, very briskly. A lot of the ships were either sold out or nearly sold out for 2020. And if the biggest ship has 190 people on board, when all those sailings got canceled, the vast majority of those people were reaccommodated on 2021 or 2022. And of course, the beginning of 2021 was a little shaky. We do have Uniworld is now back in Italy, France, and Portugal. AMA is also back on those rivers. So the river cruising has returned. I think we have the first Danube river cruise starting next week. We're seeing a return to the rivers, but we have a year or so of folks who didn't get to cruise. So 2022 is already 80% sold out. 2023 is already 30% sold out. And here we're sitting in 2021. So there are not going to be great deals for river cruising in 22 and 23. If you want to do river cruising, if that appeals to you, there are some great offers for 21. I do have a river cruise company that has waived the solo supplement on 4 dates in September and October, doing Vienna to Nuremberg. And it's about $4,600 per person Canadian before your air. That's for a solo cabin with a fixed window. And they also have French balconies and suites available too. I think you can get a double-sized suite for about $8,000. For those of you who don't do river cruising, that may sound expensive, but I can tell you that's easily half of what the pricing will be in 2020 or any other comparable line. And the thing to remember, again, if you've not done a river cruise, is that river cruising includes beer and wine at lunch and dinner. Depending on the cruise line, it may have alcohol 24/7 or not, or it might be you purchase it as you go. But river cruising also includes a shore excursion in every port. So sometimes there's a bit of a sticker shock when you look at the pricing, but you have to realize it's very different than ocean cruising, where you're going to pay as you go for your shore excursions and your alcohol and that kind of thing. Here's an example of an ocean cruise product. I'm a company I'm working with again in 21. This is going to visit Greece and Turkey, November 6, 21. Again, if you can go in, later 21, solo supplement waived, ocean cruise, ancient wonders of the Mediterranean. You can see the route here, and it's about $3,700 US per person. So again, that's a great smaller ship. Here's an example of an expedition cruise. And this is the best of the best. This is with Lindblad, but again, even the best of the best will have solo supplements waived occasionally on certain dates and rates and routes. 10 nights, Galapagos Islands with the best of the best, 7,500 US, includes everything on board, top-notch naturalists, historians, all your excursions, great food, just a fantastic experience, fantastic bucket list trip. So if you're not a cruiser, maybe you might like a wellness holiday. The Body Holiday in St. Lucia is an example of a hotel that caters to solos and has done solo travel in September. And they're doing it again this year. I think last year, obviously it was canceled, but I revalidated the dates for 2021. They're going to do, from September 1st to 27th, you could go for a week, and their pricing on their website is in pounds, but you can get an idea that you can get your own room for a week for about 2,000 pounds. Info on the ocean cruise. Oh, yep, I can just go back the screen. Whoops, it's going the wrong direction. Here we go. Here's the ocean cruise, Laura. It's from Athens to, you see it okay? Maybe my, the window I have with the folks is covering it, but I can send you the details after. So this cruise line has, I think it was 20 different options, mostly in 21, some in 22. So they are really working to get the solo traveler. It's an expedition cruise, so it's a smaller ship as well, but some great options. Well, they have both expedition and ocean cruising, actually, this cruise line. So that's a Body Holiday. And then Amazon River Cruise. Again, this is a expedition cruise, but it's a river cruise. This is the ship. Give an example. You want to be away from newspapers and cell phone, and in a cabin like this, double-sized cabin, looking out on the Amazon River. Get up every morning, go birding, come back for breakfast, get in the skiff again and go out for the afternoon, go in do a walk in the jungle. River cruises out of Canada, no. Someone just asked if there are river cruises out of Canada. Well, there are some on the St. Lawrence River, but the cruises generally out of Canada are restricted till February 2022. No cruises with more than 100 passengers are permitted to sail in Canadian waters unless that changes. That was first enacted, I think, last February, which essentially has cut out the Alaska cruise season for our friends in Vancouver and Victoria. You might have been watching the news and saw the Americans come up with an exemption to the what's called the Jones Act, which meant that cruises had to start in one country and end in another. However, with Canada's cruise restriction, That means any of our American friends who are doing an Alaska cruise with more than 100 people on board can't do the inside passage. So if you've done an Alaska cruise, you know the waters around Alaska can get a bit rough. So they're going to have a different experience without the inside passage. Okay, the second way is to go with a small escorted group that is friendly to solo travelers. And this is a group I arranged to take to Peru. That particular picture isn't Machu Picchu, but they went to Machu Picchu and they went around Cusco and spent a week. This particular option, some of the folks on the trip actually did the one-day hike option. So they took a train to Machu Picchu and then go up and see it. But then there was a one-day hike option, so you could hike for one day and have that experience without doing the 4 days and sleeping on the trail. So there's a combination of options that give you the soft adventure, but a little bit of hard adventure in there as well. And you'll notice with this small group, there's one gentleman and the rest are all ladies. That tends to be pretty common with the groups of folks that like to travel. And you can see they're all in moderately good shape, but there's no one here who's a marathon athlete. You don't have to be super fit to do these kinds of trips. You just have to be, you have to be able to, for expedition cruising, I use the analogy, you have to be able to climb into and out of a bathtub by yourself. You can't be aided, because of expedition cruising, you have to get in and out of zodiacs. And it's comparable with this kind of trip. Although if you do the one-day hike, you need to be a bit more fit because the elevation is quite high. But again, it's not the same level of fitness that the 4-day hike would require. So small escorted groups generally will have reduced solo supplement, open share programs. The tour operator or the cruise line might partner you up with solos. Certain companies offer small groups escorted, some are self-guided. I work with companies that have been around 20 to 40 years. It just happens in looking at the ages of the companies that I've been dealing with, the demographics are often more than 40% are solo travelers, and over 60% of their solo travelers are ladies. They offer safe trips with guides, tested itineraries, small groups. You rely on their expertise. And of course, I do have insider knowledge about a lot of companies, because one thing COVID has taught us as well is how companies are weathering the storm. It's very difficult financially on companies, so not everyone has come through it the same way. But by taking a small escorted group, if you are new to traveling, especially traveling on your own, by taking a group trip, you gain confidence. You're with another group, whether it's a river cruise, bike and barge, you might do watercolor painting. There's all kinds of different combinations, cycling or biking, hiking or walking, soft or hard adventure. For those of you who don't know the difference, soft adventure, you don't need training and special skills. Think of it as doing a culinary trip around Italy, maybe a food-based trip around Italy, maybe a cooking class. Whereas a hard adventure might be you're going to ride the Tour de France route. So you're not just going to come off your couch and do that. It requires training and special equipment. And that's really the difference between soft and hard adventure. You can do photography tours, wine tours, whiskey tours, golf trips, knitting, we mentioned before. There's all kinds of combinations. There's one really neat trip that I've done for some clients, which is a Prosecco walking trip. So you can walk in the morning and drink your Prosecco at night. Nice combination. So the benefit is that you're dealing with companies that have seen everything go wrong. They know how to handle it. They have all the solutions when there are issues. You rely on their expertise and you have the safety in numbers. Again, with the small escorted groups, maybe a lot of you know Shepherd's Fashions in Ottawa. I took a group of 73, mostly solo ladies. I think we had 5 husbands join us. We did the Christmas Markets River Cruise, and we are looking to repeat that hopefully in 2022, doing a different itinerary in a different season. but it allowed us to bring a large group of solo ladies together who had company. We had quite a range of ladies. Some were extremely well traveled, have been all over the world, and some had never traveled before. So we kind of had that combination, but the safety in numbers together with Shepherds, and Marlene Shepherd is in this picture, as is Kathy Donovan. They were two of my Pied Pipers for this group, the group leaders. We met every morning and had a coffee talk, motivational talk, or maybe Shepherds did how to tie a scarf or how to dress for your body shape. So it kind of brought people together, and then we went and did our shore excursions and came back together at dinner. It was a fantastic experience. Here are two other trips that my company, Vision Travel, has put together for Canadians only, visiting parts of Canada. Again, if you're looking to travel in 2021, this is an example of Maritimes Coastal Wonders. So Maritimes only, not Newfoundland. Newfoundland is not a maritime province. It visits the three of New Brunswick, PEI, and Nova Scotia, October 3rd to 13th. And it's only Canadians with Vision Travel. Double rate if you want to share, $44.49. Single rate, $58.99. Does not include air, but we do have access to some great rates for air. And if you want a triple room, $43.99. You can have 3 people in a room. So again, this is a great experience. 2 nights St. John, 2 nights PEI, 4 nights in Halifax, and 2 nights in Badek, Cape Breton Island, which is, I'm going blank. National Geographic guy. Is where he's from. Anyway, it'll come to me in a second. We have another escorted group that is solo friendly, again with Vision, per person, just under 4,000 for a double, single $51.49. Western Canada, Rockies, Lakes, and Wine Country. And this is September 4 to 12, 2021, if you want to see some of Canada. Calgary, Banff, Revelstoke, Kelowna, and Vancouver. And again, we have some great net rates on air if that interests you. Another option might be the Rocky Mountaineer. I took a small group of ladies September 2019. We had a fantastic experience, did the Gold Leaf. Great way, great year for Canadians to visit their own backyard now that the borders between provinces are open again. So that might be a great trip for you to consider as well. And I can help you with that either solo or with a group. For those who attended my travel talk with Big 5 Tours recently, we talked about maybe doing a trip to Morocco. So if you have an interest in that, let me know. I can send you a recording of the presentation. But I've already sent some small groups to Morocco, to Vietnam, Cambodia, Iceland, and Peru. So we could certainly do customized small groups, or we could put you with a tour operator who's already running a trip, or we can build a specialized trip. This is an example of a trip I did in 2017 with a small group. Next week, I have Abercrombie and Kent, virtuoso partner of mine that I do customized trips with, like Big 5. They specialize. I have the destination management manager for Southeast Asia coming on. And she and I were talking on Monday about the presentation and setting it up. And she is very excited if anybody wants to do a small group of ladies only. She suggested maybe we could do Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand. Vietnam's a little more tricky these days, but by 22, hopefully everything will be settled down again. But if you're looking to do that, and it again, while some of these virtuoso partners are 5-star, they don't have to be. Abercrombie and Kent in Southeast Asia, we could do 4-star and have a great experience with them as well. The St. Lucia info, yes, I'll go back at the end. It's called Body Holiday. It's a virtuoso hotel partner of mine. So solo travel, the third way is to find a travel partner. We have a number of people here. you can find someone you'd like to travel with, match up in terms of interest. Some people like to travel together and have separate rooms, or you might want to share rooms. So the thing to think about is where you want to travel. And, I can either create lists if I know that I have 5 people who want to go to Asia, whether, the trip I mentioned, or maybe you have a specific interest, or maybe there's a bunch of people that would like to go to Africa or South America. We can create lists and start to research a trip to put a group together. And that way you don't have to travel by yourself and have company. The really neat thing of having people come from Ottawa is that what I've been able to do in the past is actually bring people together at a local restaurant. Now that restaurants are opening again, and meet and share ideas. And whether it's your own room or you're sharing a room, it's just getting to know people so that you recognize them and you have some company, whether on the flight or on the tour itself. And then how to make solo travel easier, find a travel partner. I have a lot of clients who prefer their own room. I find that as we get older, especially, we don't want to share a bathroom with people. We don't want to share a TV and worry about who's snoring and who doesn't. But I also have a number of clients who would prefer to share a room and share expenses so they could do 2 trips instead of 1 on their own. So I've designed a long questionnaire that if I have people I know want to share rooms, can introduce them to each other and have a list of questions they can go through. It's not to be formal, but I find the questionnaire allows them to broach subjects that they might not do if they're being polite and courteous of others. It's very easy to say, do you drink, do you smoke, are you an early riser? It's not so easy to say, do you prefer the bed next to the bathroom? Are you going to be okay if we alternate beds if we're moving on a tour? Will it bother you if there's only 1 chair, we share the chair, 1 room, that kind of thing? If it's on a questionnaire, it just makes it easier to open the conversation with people. And the 4th way to travel is to create a group yourself. So the Shepherd's group I mentioned, Shepherd's Fashions and Kathy Donovan were the Pied Pipers. We all know the story of the Pied Piper. The idea is that you bring a group of friends with you, and then you can travel for discounted group rates. It might be you have a bridge group or a choir group, but that might be a way for you to travel that makes it a little bit easier on the pocketbook. So let me bring everybody back. How are we doing? We're just over 6. But how's everybody doing? Do we have any questions or any comments?
Sheila, what is the lobster season in PI?
Well, I don't know the exact dates. I could check, although I used to work with fisheries and oceans. I should know that. But I know it tends to be June, July. Is when it's common. There are very specific dates, though, according to the calendar, but think of it as the summer months.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Is anyone looking to do a particular trip and would love to have company to do it with? I think, was it Karen mentioned Africa? Is there anyone who's looking to go to Africa and would love to find some company? Maybe, no? How about South America? Anyone looking to go to Colombia or Peru, Central America, Costa Rica?
I would love Colombia.
Colombia, yeah? Anyone looking for New Zealand, Australia? How about a river cruise? Yeah, river cruise? Well, one of the things I can do, I can share a survey of sorts with folks after this. And if you have an interest where you would like to travel a certain way, I will phrase the question such as Asia, Africa, Europe, New Zealand, Australia, that kind of thing, break it out. And then you could indicate, you know, are you looking to travel by yourself? Are you looking to travel with and travel by yourself and you're looking for just you know, reducing the solo supplement? Are you looking to travel with company? So whether that's having your own room or sharing a room, and we can proceed that way. Or you're more than welcome to just follow up with me individually if you have something specific, and I'll do my best to help you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Monique, you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering if you have a list, like a solo list. Like me, I'd like to have a separate room, but like if you organize a trip somewhere, do you have such a list that you can send the information to these people, or?
Yeah, I did have a number of groups planned for last year that kind of got upended, of course. I do still have one organized group that's on the books for a river cruise with AMA Waterways in November. So that's doing Taste of Bordeaux with San Sebastian add-on. I can send you details on that. But I'm also at the point where things are just starting to rebuild and move again, that I'm building new groups. So I can send you some examples of things where the solo supplement is either waived or reduced. But if it's putting a group together, other than the one I've mentioned, now is the time where I'm gathering information to actually start building some groups. So if you had a specific, because obviously everything shut down for 16 months, right? So any groups that I had created, we had to refund the money or rebook. So it's been a quite a period of 16 months that nobody ever wants to see return. So please,
Well, for example, I'd like to go 4 or 5 weeks in Portugal, let's say. And I don't want to, I want to have my room, but to go alone, it's not, I did travel quite a bit in the past, and I'm traveling in 2022. I already have quite a few things planned, but I never traveled by myself, but I thought that I would try it in 2022.
okay.
But to go into like Portugal, I'd like to go like 5 weeks, let's say February, if we would be a group. I'm looking into it now. Is it too early, February 2022? Maybe it is, I don't know.
Not necessarily. I mean, air schedules are still changing, so I wouldn't be looking at booking air just yet, but certainly accommodations and a long-term thing or something that can be sorted now. For those of you who are on my newsletter already, you would have seen last week's newsletter. I talked a lot about, Laura saying she'd do Portugal in 2020. So there we go. We got 2 already, Monique. My newsletter last week, I talked about all the challenges that we're facing right now. Like I have a client who has had their river cruise canceled twice. And so they're scheduled to go August 15th this year. They're doubly vaccinated. They're doing the Danube though. They're not doing France or Italy or Portugal. So the Danube, of course, they have to meet the requirements of Austria, Germany, Slovakia, and Hungary. And on July 1st, the EU recommended that Canada be added to the green list to be able for Canadians to come if they're doubly vaccinated without quarantining. It took about 10 days for Germany and Austria to adopt those recommendations and add it to allow Canadians. Slovakia has just added Canadians as well. Hungary has not. So I have my client anxious to do a river cruise. He can do the first 3 ports, but can't go into Hungary just yet. So obviously Budapest is an important part of that cruise. We're hoping and waiting to see what happens. But that's the kind of thing. And again, with this client, I just use it as an example. I have not booked air for them because of this thing being up in the air. But even for clients that I have booked air for, schedules are changing, equipment is changing, routes are changing. And you would have seen the news that Air Canada is adding back international routes. WestJet is now flying domestically across Canada where they had been stopped. So if you had something booked before they started adding all these things, that could be impacted if they're moving their equipment or their routes are changing. An example, especially if you're booking business class air, we could have you booked on this particular aircraft because of the volume or the payload. The airline might decide to change the aircraft, and all of a sudden business class isn't available on that aircraft. So, you know, these are the kind of things that are playing out with hotels. Another example is that if you think of hotels, cruise lines, tour operators, they have all laid off people, right? The pandemic was devastating. So they have furloughed whole bunches of employees. Some of those employees chose to find other jobs. Some have come back. Companies are only bringing them back as they get the revenue streams to pay for the salaries, which means if you're going to a 5-star hotel in Europe, you might have your bed made by the general manager because they don't have the staff to turn the rooms over. Just like Canada had different rooms, like until June 16th, from Ottawa, we couldn't legally cross the border to go into Quebec. I had to keep postponing a client's visit to Manoir Hubby for a big anniversary because she didn't want to break the rules and cross the border. The Quebec government was saying no one from Ontario should be in Quebec. So we had those funny rules, you know, the Atlantic bubble was on, was off. You couldn't go to Manitoba, you couldn't go to Alberta. So we saw that in Canada. We certainly saw different rules happening in the States, you know, with New York, especially at the beginning, have very different rules than Texas, from Florida. So we see that, we're going to continue to see that in other countries as well. In Italy, you know, Italy is open now, but certainly at the beginning, you know, the area of Veneto had very different rules from another area. And we're going to see that as every member state makes up its own rules and regulations. They can tell you whether to wear a mask, whether to quarantine, whether to be doubly vaccinated, what vaccines they're going to accept. So it's all in a state of flux right now. If you're thinking of going to Europe in 21, I would recommend only we do one country, just because moving between countries is a little bit crazy right now, unless you're doing a river cruise and all the countries have been approved, because the river cruise company has to meet the standard of each company. So if Germany's rules are higher than Austria, they're going to meet Germany's. So, you know, a river cruise is going to give you that moving hotel experience. So all that to say, Portugal, yes, if you want to do a long-term stay, it's something we could look into. I certainly had some clients go into Portugal before. Someone's just saying, what, Porto can be cold in February? You have to be a bit more south. Canary Islands, is this, oh, okay. Do Portugal February 22, 5 weeks are a good starting point, Canary Islands, and then to Western Africa, maybe using Portugal or Canary Islands as a base. That could be good. Any other questions or comments? No?
Yeah, I'm looking for a long-term stay, basically February, not just like a 1 week kind of thing. I want to be gone for the winter.
Okay.
I don't want to be here.
So a long-term stay focused in Portugal.
Yeah, or Canary Islands, because
Okay.
it's just a little bit warmer, I think. It's farther south. But I don't know how easy it is to find a place. It
Yeah,
doesn't
there
have to be anything fancy, but just some place to be warm, warmer than here.
Oh, okay. I will look into that. I know I had some colleagues who were doing long-term stays for some clients, and they had some preferred partners they were dealing with, so I can check into that. And again, it's the type of thing, everything's evolving with COVID. We're not necessarily back yet, but I can start to look into that. Someone, oh, Very nice presentation. You're most welcome. This lady's interested in Stonehenge, Ireland, Malta. So if anyone else is looking for that, another person saying thank you very much. So I will follow up, folks. I'll try to create a survey that I can send you and you can indicate your interest. I'm not sure if I'll do a form that you can tick, or maybe I'll do like a survey monkey or something you can answer quickly, but it'll allow us to gather information. If that form doesn't work for you, whatever it emerges to be, just reach out to me by email and let me know your needs and interests. And we can try to match folks up if you're looking for company, or we can try to find the best rates that you're not going crazy with the cost. Thank you. I hope that was helpful to you. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming out.
Thank you.
And Newfoundland, a quickie to go and see the puffins would be another one I would do.
Oh, definitely. I just booked my trip to Newfoundland. I can finally go.
Oh, good. They opened up?
They did July 2nd, I think they just opened up. You got to be doubly vaccinated and you got to fill out some forms, but yeah, it's open.
Oh, good.
I'll go see the puffin in Iceland.
Well, it's funny. The puffins are Newfoundland's provincial bird as well.
Yeah, I know, but I was at the presentation for Iceland that we did a while ago. And I sent you an email, but I don't know, do we have your email? Can we just reply to the one from Meetup? I did not get a response.
Oh, I mustn't have got it. The best email to send to me is sheila@lushlife.ca. That's shorter to type, but you can also do sheila.gh@visiontravel.ca. It's just Sheila@lushlife is a little easier, a little shorter to type. They both come to the same place, but the other one is sheila.gh as in Golf Hotel @visiontravel.ca. But I'll follow up. All you guys would have had to register, so I have all of your email addresses. I will follow up with everyone, and it'd be great if you have something specific you're looking for, please let me know. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks.